I've been meaning to make this video for a while. The only reason why I didn't make this video sooner is because both of the people that I'm about to talk about in this video have watched my videos since I stopped talking to them. And, I'd like to sit here and act like I don't think about those types of things, like I don't care about if they're watching or not, but I do. I do. I don't want them to see me talking about them. But what I've come to realize is that, for one, this insecurity that I have about them seeing my videos means nothing compared to the amount of comfort this video might provide to that one person that needs it. Somebody's going to find comfort within my words. And also, if they're still watching my videos, I think that says a lot more about them than it does about me making these videos. With that being said, I just kind of need to get this off of my chest. YouTube is my digital journal, and this has been weighing on me very heavily for a while. So hopefully by the end of this video, I can find some sort of conclusion as to attachment and detachment in regards to dating and love. So if you're new to my channel, you probably have not heard this story yet, but if you've been following my channel for a while, you've heard this story many times over. Okay, so I'm gonna try to keep it kind of brief, but basically, earlier this year, I met this girl and we hit it off extremely well. Okay, this was something that I had never experienced before, this type of connection. It was an instant connection, instant chemistry. And it's kind of hard to quantify those types of things. It's just one of those things that you feel it when you're in the situation. Just know that within like the first week of us meeting each other, I guess, we were having like 15-hour FaceTime calls. Like, it was like that type of connection. Like I said, things were going extremely well, but when we met, I was not in a good state of mind, unbeknownst to her. She did not know this, but I was going through it. I was going through it mentally. I was borderline suicidal. I was depressed. I was in a terrible space mentally. I don't think anybody really knew this except for me. In fact, I'm not even sure that I knew this, or at least I didn't want to admit that I was back into that space. Because when you're depressed, and you finally get out of that space, you don't ever want to go back there. So I was living in denial at the time, but I was definitely depressed. I was down bad. And when I met her, she kind of became that source of light in the darkest of times in my life. Now, obviously, that's not fair to her. And it's not fair to me either. Attachment is never fair. It's always toxic. It always ends badly. It always ends with a lot of pain. But I didn't see that at the time. I didn't see that. I also didn't see that she was going through a lot as well. She was dealing with her own set of problems. And I was so blinded by my insecurities and my attachments to her that I put my own desires ahead of her needs. She needed somebody at the time, and I just wanted her to be mine. I just wanted her to be mine, period. I didn't really care about anything else, and like I said, I was very insecure. So when things didn't work out, because like I said, neither of us was ready to be dating anybody, I thought that she just found somebody else. I was very insecure, and I'm over here, watching these videos from other people saying that, this is why this girl friend zoned you and everything like that. But intuitively, I felt something different. On the surface level, I saw one thing, but intuitively, I felt something else. And my intuition doesn't lie. And in hindsight, my intuition was right. But, at the time, I didn't see that. So, I developed this attachment to her, and then just as quickly as we came together, she was out of my life completely. Just like that. That was a very tough time for me. That was a very tough time for me. I could sit here and probably make a whole video about that time frame. If you go back and watch some of my old videos, you can probably see it or sense it within my overall demeanor, my energy. You can tell that I was holding a lot back. But, eventually I built up the courage to start speaking about the pain that I was going through, and that helped me quite a bit. Now, over time, as I began to allow myself to express my pain, I was able to do a lot of introspection, especially during quarantine. I didn't really have anything else to do. I was just making videos, learning more about myself. And I identified the fact that I had developed an attachment to her. And for that reason, we were predestined to fail. Attachment and love cannot coexist for the long haul. It just can't, because at some point or another, that insecurity that's at the foundation of your attachment is going to resurface. And it's going to damage the connection that you have with that person. Now, like I said, we had that instant chemistry and that connection. But sometimes I wonder if that connection was even real. Was that connection genuine, or was it all based on my attachment? Was it a figment of my imagination? Intuitively, I feel like it wasn't. Logically, it might have been. But I know deep down that that connection was real. But when attachment and chemistry combine, it's very hard to find the line between the two. The lines become blurred, and chemistry and attachment look very, very similar when you squint your eyes. So I don't know. I don't know. But what I did know was that if I wanted to be in a relationship with anybody, I would have to work on myself and become secure in myself and learn to detach from the outcome. Learn to stop building these attachments to women, because it was very damaging to my mental health. Making a woman the central focus of your life and relying on her and her only to bring you happiness and joy, that's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you anywhere with women. It's not going to get you anywhere with, being successful or even being happy in the moment. You're never going to find true happiness outside of yourself. And I know this. I know this now. And I took this information with me when I started talking to this other girl. This was more recently, probably back in August, I want to say. So when I started talking to this girl, me and her had quite a bit in common as well. And I felt like on paper, we were very compatible. But at the same time, I made a conscious decision to not emotionally invest myself into her before she emotionally invested herself into me. I made a decision that I was not going to catch feelings before she did, because I did not want to experience the same level of pain that I felt from that previous situation. When you go through heartbreak, you do not want to go through it again. It's just like depression. You don't want to go through that again. So I basically walled myself off, and I didn't allow myself to catch feelings. Now, me and her, we were doing a lot of the same things that me and the other girl did. We were having FaceTime calls almost every night. We were going out occasionally, but, we were in contact, and things were going pretty well. But like I said, I just couldn't catch feelings for her. I just couldn't. And I don't really know why. Maybe it's because I was still traumatized from the last situation, so I was really guarded. I don't know. But long story short, me and her stopped talking. She ghosted me. Okay, she ghosted me. The situation actually ended very similarly to the previous situation. But this time, it didn't faze me. Being ghosted, being friend-zoned, it didn't faze me at all. And that right there, in theory, should be a good thing. The fact that I was able to exit from that situation without really caring at all. I avoided feeling that pain, but that came at the expense of enjoying a connection that might have been there if I just let my guard down and became vulnerable. What I'm starting to learn is that there's a balance between attachment and detachment that you need to find if you want to get the best out of love, out of a relationship, out of dating. If you become too attached to somebody, then it'll never end well, like I said. You're going to feel a lot of pain and misery that you don't have to feel. But at the same time, if you become too detached to where losing somebody doesn't even faze you at all, then you're never going to feel the depth of that connection. You'll never get to experience the high points. If you want to experience the highs, you have to be willing to experience the lows as well. And truth be told, being in that space of detachment being with somebody and still feeling alone, it's almost worse than heartbreak, if you ask me. You know, it's almost worse because if you can lose somebody and it doesn't faze you, you know, you probably should just be single. Like I said, it's good that I was able to avoid more of that trauma and more of that pain and heartbreak. But at the same time, it bothers me that the way that situation ended didn't bother me. You know, the fact that I didn't feel anything, it makes me wonder, is this how people feel? Is this what life without attachment is like? I'm still struggling to find that balance. You know, I'm not perfect. And I do understand that, like I said, nothing outside of myself can bring me that satisfaction. But at the same time, if you only ever rely on yourself for that satisfaction, what's the point of even dating? You know, what's the point of even being with somebody and sharing your time with them if you don't even really care about being around them? You don't care about if things work out. You know, you're so detached, you might as well just focus on yourself. You know, in the past, I spent a lot of time pondering if I would ever find true love. But now, I spend time pondering if I even want true love. What's the point? You know, what's the point of being in love with somebody if you'll never really experience that feeling fully without attachment? You know, the thing is, I'm not really sure if there's like a universal optimal balance between attachment and detachment. I feel like each and every person is going to have their unique balance based on their circumstances and what they're willing to subject themselves to. But the only way to really find that balance is through trial and error. You know, it's through trial and error. And I don't want to date people and subject myself to those feelings just for the sake of doing it. You know, I want something meaningful and deep. But at the same time, you know, life is about making mistakes. Nothing is permanent in life. Even if you find true love, one of you is going to die eventually. And that's why you shouldn't build attachments, because even if you find that person and you spend the rest of your life with them, one of you is going to go eventually. But on the flip side of that, if you find that person and you're completely detached from the situation, you'll go your whole life without ever experiencing the depth of the connection of the person that you're with.